9th of December 2023, and this is a Warrafak moment, and it is for me a huge Warrafak moment, and we have to talk about it. And I need to explain something that has caused a lot of responses on my channel, something that I've been talking about for a while, and that is my belief that we have to go tribal. Now, before I start with that, listen to this video clip. It was an interview that the Black Pen did, but I need you to listen very carefully to what is being said here.
I would not mind if Ramaphosa and his friends, Ramaphosa and Pravin, with all due respect, just take your money, go to Stellenbosch, speak to Rupert and Oppenheimer, buy Eskom out, own it, but allow people to have services.
Because that's already what you guys want. So
that's what you want. Just get it done with. Get it done with.
But let's.
You want the South African Airways? Just buy the thing and put the aeroplanes back on the road. Let people work.
You want Transnet? Sell it to Glencoe. It's fine, but just serve the people.
You will go to meet Malema in court and discuss why you did it and how you did it. That's a conversation for another day. But you cannot squeeze people.
Right now you're throttling the people and they can't breathe.
And this is how you make people revolt. This is how you lose everything that you have. This is how Ceausescu, the guy from Czechoslovakia, who was thrown on the streets and his property is destroyed. And this is exactly what happens. You gather all these things to yourself. Think carefully, Ramaphosa. The day you step out of office, you are going to be in court for the rest of your life to account for these injuries that you've caused along the way. For what it is worth, start looking after the common people. Appease the people. They don't want much.
They don't want much.
They just want to switch on their electricity.
Africans don't want much.
They just want food on their table and allow them to become. But when you begin to tamper with these critical issues of,
you turn them into desperate animals.
And when that day comes, the poor people will eat the rich. I bet you Stellenbosch is not far. We'll eat up those grapes.
Oh, a lot of those guys have already started moving overseas, by the way. And moving their companies, Anglo-American.
And their monies. And who is going to remain? Ramaphosa will remain dealing with this mess post his presidential term.
Okay, I'm not going to discuss everything that he said in detail. But for me, what this guy is actually saying here is, let's surrender to XXX and go on with our lives. I have got news for him. Something that he needs to consider seriously. And that is that XXX has published it internationally. 85% of us must go. So this ordinary people that he is referring to that just want to get on with their lives, 85% of them will be wiped out. That is the goal. Now, unfortunately, due to lots of restrictions, I cannot elaborate on how the wipeout is going to be done. But there is certain aspects of the wipeout that you have to just understand. It is going, portions of that wipeout has already started, some has already been concluded, and some is going to happen. Now, I'm going to give you something to think about seriously. Think back about the snakebite and then consider the following. They were absolutely committed to, first of all, get the old people. And then they turned their attention to the children. Now, why did they do that? Get rid of the old people and you destroy the nation's vault of experience, wisdom and history, and the cultural anchors. That's the old people. Then the youngsters. Why the kids? Destroy the kids and the future of the nation. is gone. Okay. What we know, and this has been scientifically published and proven in autopsies, people that took the bite, the males, in the autopsies it was clear their testicles contained no sperm, only spike protein. And in the females, the ovaries were no more eggs, only spike protein. There goes the future. Okay. Now, people are asking me about this tribal thing. And when I say go tribal, the bulk of the people that listen to it, they see these guys with their bones through the hair and bones through the nose and shit like that and skulls on poles. That is not what I mean. If I say go tribal, I say go back to your roots and your community. Go back to that collection where you feel comfortable because you have the same cultural views, you have the same common values, common decency. Way back in the Stone Ages, tribes were there. Tribes have been there always. Initially, tribes only consisted out of a family. But then when there was danger, the one family will call on the next door families, the neighboring family, to come and help. There's a danger, this animal is too big or what. And the two will work together and they will get rid of the danger. Or the two of them will work together, or 3 or 4 of them, little tribes will work together and they will kill a woolly mammoth. And there's meat for all of them. So tribes has been working together for survival since the early ages. So if I say go tribal, I say find the people that have a common view of life and a common view of the future. And in 2023, this tribal bundling together cannot really be driven by things like race. It cannot. Even language might be something that tribe will consider, okay, but that is secondary. Our most important thing to focus on is survival of our tribe. And I have explained in some of my previous videos that we have got a problem in South Africa, and that is that the plan by Cyril Ramaphosa and his gang, he's got a gang, he doesn't have a tribe, never had a tribe. His gang are planning to collapse the country and in the process steal as much as they can, and the country is shattered, and for survival the tribes will have to flock together. If they do not flock together, they will be wiped out. So if I say go tribal, the first important thing about tribes is all tribes has got land. It cannot be denied. Every tribe has got lands, and I want you to take a look at this map, and this is the map from the Afrikaner Accord. And yes, someone gave me some shit in my comments about where is the Cape, where is the Griquas, where is the Khoi, where is what. That's not my fucking problem. That's not my problem. I'm concerned about my tribe's future. They've got their own issues and they must sort it out. They've got a group, a WhatsApp group that I'm on. Gee, but they are so scattered and shattered and divided, and there's no unity. There's no single mission there. They are basically reflecting the most basic about tribal. Only families. They're small groups, but they've got a king and a queen and a prince and the fuck knows what. And then they're 20 people. Yeah, well, that's their problem. They'll have to fight for their piece of land. Their piece of land is going to be something like a big farm. That's not my problem. My issue is with the four main tribes of South Africa. Who are the four main tribes of South Africa? The Zulus, the Sothos, the Tswanas, the Xhosas. Those are the four main tribes. And then we get the fifth tribe, which is a very important tribe. It's the Boere. And if you talk to all those four other tribes, the Zulus, the Tswanas, the Xhosas, and the Sothos, they don't deny the tribal land of the Boere. But that is a discussion that the tribes will have with one another. In 92, 93, 94, the Zulus and the Tswanas recognized the reality and the truth about the Boere tribe. Now, the ANC took control of this country in 94. That ANC represents no tribe. No tribe. Never. The closest the ANC ever got to acknowledging tribal reality was under Jacob Zuma. And he was hated for that. He was hated for that. And Triple X unleashed everything they had to get rid of Zuma. There's a document going around that clearly states, and it's a Triple X document, states that a Zulu or a Boer must never be in charge of South Africa. Let that sink in. And you guys, black guys, call me a racist. I've got one response for you. Fuck off. The fact of the matter is, tribal is the most basic instinct when it comes to survival. Now, I am convinced that the Republic of South Africa, the central government of South Africa, will collapse, and it will collapse very quickly overnight. And I've seen videos last night that people shared with me, yes, and among them black people, and not militant fucking idiots, Twitter keyboard warriors, people, black people with intelligence, black people with insight. They forwarded some stuff to me, clips, and they forwarded to me sound clips of speeches that people has made, and from that it is clear. The division in the ANC, what we call the ANC, is enormous. Enormous. It is a fucking miracle that that construct called the ANC is still standing. I have said it long ago that the ANC will split apart because the divisions inside the ANC is huge. Most important for me is the fact that the ANC does not represent a tribe. They don't. They don't care about the ordinary people, like this guy said in the video. They don't give a fuck for people. It is all about what they can grab for themselves. But they've got a more of a problem. When this government crash, which it will, they're going to find themselves in a position that they are going to be on their own little islands that they themselves have created for themselves. And as this guy say, the poor is going to eat them. That's where they're going to go. We have a reality in South Africa that is confirmed. We are not a unity nation. We are not. We're not one nation. We are not. We have been bundled together artificially. And the mere fact that we've got 11 official languages already say we are 11 different blocks of people. And the Constitution acknowledges it. Now what I want to know is, how is it possible that we have official recognition for 11 languages, but we don't have official recognition of the right to existence in their own territory of 11 blocks of people. Doesn't make sense. And it was under the National Party, actually under the British, they started the shit in 1910. The illusion was created that this is one nation, which it is not. Look at this map again. Those are the major tribes. Those are the major groups. They and in their areas. Once again, there's no reference to the Cape. There's one little bit at the bottom where it says Afrikaners. I asked the black guy last night, I said, were you actually aware of the fact that the Afrikaners is not all the white people? Were you aware of the fact that there was something like the Boere tribe? And he said to me, no, he wasn't aware of that. And then he added, I actually don't care about it, it's whites, you're all whites. That's it. But the fact of the matter is, we have to go tribal. And again, if I say tribal, I am saying people with common values will have to flock together to survive. When this government falls apart, which it will, the option is going to be tribes or gangs. And currently, the XXX machinery in South Africa have already placed their gangs in position. Their gangs are there, they exist, we know them, we see them. And then there's a gang that you must take note of, and that is the gang in the ANC. You have to go and look how much of the state assets have they stolen for themselves through company fronts and cock like that. But while we were fighting about white and black and that type of shit, that ANC cabal has quietly been privatizing large portions of the government assets. It's a fact. So, we have to be aware of the fact that we are under threat, and XXX has got absolutely no problem with wiping out large numbers of people. They killed over 11 million in the Middle East. Why? Just so that they can have a grip on the oil. That's why they did it. And we have to be aware of that. And then we also have to be aware of this current movement that is beginning to pick up speed in the world. I have said in, I think it was in October last year or in August last year in a Briekmerke, I did say, Skidmarks, that the EU will break apart. I also said the United States of America will break apart because the divide between conservative and liberal has now become so huge that it cannot be traversed. It cannot. They can't reach one another. That divide is far too big. And if the conservatives of this world do not group and stand together very quickly, they're going to wipe us out. Because that is what they want. They want us gone. Because these liberals are good slaves for XXX. Because the liberals do whatever they are being told to do. And they think they gather favor with the rulers by obeying. Well, they'll obey the command to go into the death chambers. And they will think it's okay. They showed it to us. Look how eagerly they took the snake bites. The people that did not take the snake bite, those are the people that XXX wants to wipe out. And they've got all sorts of plans of how to do it, because in the end, they want to get to the place where they will forcefully inject you. You will have no option. I spoke to a guy in Australia last night and I said to him, I'm very worried about the Aussies. I can see that there is an awakening of ordinary, decent people in Australia. But they fucked because they've been disarmed. They allowed themselves to be disarmed. So the Aussies, I have got a bad feeling that we're going to see a huge drop in numbers in Australia. Same for New Zealand. I don't think the conservative part in New Zealand has got the balls to do what needs to be done. And then he said to me, what do I say needs to be done? And I said, well, all this, the XXX agents, which are lovingly called government officials, they need to be culled. If you don't do it, we're not going to survive. We will not survive. And I don't think that the youngsters of today, most of them, don't have the guts to do that. They cannot imagine a time when you had to physically fight for your life. They cannot remember that time. That reality is too far from their current reality, which their current reality is a hell of a lot is artificial, because that reality exists for them on their phones, on their tablets, on their PCs. They live in this altered reality. And I'm sorry, they're not going to make it. Because, once again, XXX said 85% must go. Now, all you need to do is get 10 of your friends together in one room and look around that room and then realize 8 of them have to go. And the room next door, 9 will have to go. Think about that. And in South Africa, I say go tribal. And by that, I mean get together with people that have the same value system as you. Get together. We saw it during the July unrest. Communities like the Mums and Toti came together and fought off the barbarians. And in that community was mixed cultures, but they got together on basics, and that is what we'll have to do. So you have to look at that, and I explained it to a guy that I had a discussion with yesterday, that the reality is that South Africa has got a large cosmopolitan population. In other words, people that are living in cities and have been living there for 20, 30, 40 years. Those people have been separated from their basic tribal roots. And it is natural, it happened like that. But those people, those cosmopolitans, they will have to start getting together people with similar value systems and flock together and organize together for their survival. Because you are the guys that will have to fight the gangsters. And if you are not organized, you're going to be wiped out. And Wynand de Tooy with his SBB, yes, Wynand is not a political guy. He's a soldier. But you have to listen to him, because he knows how to survive. Some of the things that he says might be over the top. There are some things that are being promoted that I also don't agree with, but that's not important. The basics is important. Listen to what he tells you about the basics. I don't think people in general actually grasp the nightmare situation if this government collapses, and it is going to collapse. I'm going to add this just as an end thought. There's a lot of excitement about the 200 seats that is available in Parliament for independence. And there's many reasons why people are excited. But the most important thing about that independence, the one thing is that the law that was structured by the XXX agents makes it impossible for that independence to ever be in charge, because they cannot get a majority in the House. So they can only bring the House to a stalemate position, and then the president of the ruling party will have the last word. But the reality is this, that 200 independents means there's 200 seats taken away from the known and exposed XXX cabal. So the ANC, the DA, the EFF, the Freedom Front Plus, they will lose between them 200 seats. Those parties that are currently sitting there with 1 seat and 2 seats, they're fucked, they're gone. They're not going to make it. So they will disappear from government. And with them, a hell of a lot of people that voted for them. Vote has been wasted. But if we have that scenario that 200 independents actually makes it to the parliament, you must also understand that 200 independents are not a unity bloc. The chances of all 200 of them getting together and forming a solid bloc is zero. There is going to be people in that independence that has got sentiments for either the ANC, the DA, the EFF or the Freedom Front Plus. But the fact of the matter is that the political parties themselves will have a lot less. And I don't think the South African population is mature enough, politically mature enough, to actually use those independents effectively. So for now, those independents are there to dilute the parties. And that is a good thing. But I don't think that that government sitting there in Cape Town is going to be relevant next year this time. Tell me in the comments if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong. But remember, if I say go tribal, I say get together with people. Organize yourself in groups that has got the same values. Please give me a like and subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.